Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak. I'm CAIR's Government Affairs Director, Robert McCaw. I want to thank each and every one of you who is watching this, whether live or recorded. This is CAIR's webinar training on requesting Ramadan accommodations for your child at school. And so with that, I'm going to jump right into this. If you have questions, throw them in the chat box. This is live streaming on Facebook. We'll try to answer them during, and I'll even try to follow up afterwards, see if there are any things I can personally respond to using my own account. And so I just, again, thank you for joining this training. We're going to be discussing accommodations that you as a parent can request for your child during Ramadan and on Eid al-Fitr, the holiday marking the end of Ramadan from your school. As you know, we're a week into Ramadan. It began on March 22nd, and it's going to end sometime around Thursday, April 20th. Earlier this month, just 3 weeks ago, CAIR released a template message, a letter that American Muslim parents can send to their school officials requesting that the school provide their Muslim students with religious accommodations for the month of Ramadan and for Eid al-Fitr. And we'll definitely be talking about this template message in a few short minutes. But I just first wanted to go over your rights as parents about how to make such accommodation requests and what these requests really are. So, taking one more step back, and I'm a parent myself with children in school. Parent participation in schools, it's a time-honored American tradition. It's a civic responsibility, and a civic responsibility is something we do to participate in our democracy and uphold its values. And since the COVID-19 pandemic, American parents have become even more involved in their child's school and education because at first our children were at home with us. And then when they were sent back to school, there was all this amazing infrastructure where the teachers were notifying us as parents on what the school curriculum was, when to expect more tests, how to continue that parental involvement. And so, with that, parents are just interacting more often with their children's school and the faculty and the community by participating in school events, attending school board meetings, attending parent-teachers association meetings, volunteering in the classroom. I know we've all done that. And requesting more information about your child's lesson plans, academic resources, and most importantly, right now, making sure that the school is respecting and observing your child's religious requirements. And so parents have the right to request a religious accommodation. Students in schools have a First Amendment right to be provided a religious accommodation for prayer, for fasting, for religious attire, and other school and classroom-related issues. Parents have a First Amendment right to make this request to your child's school, in this case, to provide during Ramadan, excuse absences for celebrating the Eid holiday, to provide spaces for prayer in school, alternate spaces during lunch for fasting, excuses for gym-related activities, in addition to, normally excusing them from certain lesson plans or special educational programs or other activities that would generally violate your family's sincerely held religious beliefs. And so how do we direct our requests about Ramadan? You can use CAIR's templated message. Again, it's a fill-in letter, and parents can, after filling out this letter with the basic requirements, I'm going to ask our producer Ismail if he can kind of show that letter. One second, uno momento. Great. So as you can see, we have a templated letter. You could address this to your student's teacher, or in some cases, I address these letters to my student's teacher and the principal. But there's just a very few pieces of information you need to fill out in this form: the name of your student, the principal you're addressing this to, what grade they're in, the school's name. That's basically it. Ismail, if you could just scroll down a little bit more. We have some cool information just about what Ramadan is, what the significance is for the month in Islam. And then you make your request in the letter as the parent of that student, exerting your right, which is well established in law, to, ask for, allowances for, sitting down at tables when children are fasting, to be excused from classes or tests or quizzes when it's Eid and you're taking that day off, and just other accommodations that you might want to ask. But Ismail, you can take that down now. Thank you so much. But you would fill out this letter and you would address it to your child's teacher. Always try to start with the teacher. Sometimes this involves greater school policies, and you'll be asked to send it to the school's principal or assistant principal. I just kind of start with both. But you should get a positive response. If for some reason you or your community doesn't get a positive response, I'd encourage you to reach out to CAIR. But you should also at that point be thinking how either individually or collectively, as parents, you might want to reach out again to the school saying our 10 families would really jointly like to make this request. Or if you would have to make that request then to the school superintendent, or to even bring this up as an issue at your next school board meeting, where you would want to make sure that the school board, which oversees the entire county's education, that they have policies in place that can provide accommodation. So with religious accommodations, ultimately it's the school's responsibility to provide one for fasting students, for students who want to pray, whether that's in the month of Ramadan or across the year. My own son, I take him out for Friday Juma, sometimes once a month, or depending on his school schedule. And I have that accommodation that I made, request that I made to the school. But it's the school's responsibility to provide an accommodation to the families that make those requests. And so that is why CAIR has developed this template form to request religious accommodations for prayer and for fasting students, and for to celebrate Eid. And our template letter it's pretty easy to use. I personally use all our template letters in my own school, and they've worked pretty well. And again, this will explain what Ramadan is, the need for some students to fast, requesting these spaces and these excuses. And in that portion about, requesting an excused absence for the Eid holiday, that could be 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, depending on how your family celebrates or in your community. And I say all this if there isn't already a policy in place that just has the day off. Eid is off in my schools. I don't have to worry about this. It was a great win for Muslims here in Fairfax County. But that might not be the case for your school. So some schools do a great job. Others just need a little bit of help, or to be made aware of what the students' needs are, to just address those or respond to them. And I would just note, Islam has a diversity of views and traditions. It has a rich history with a diverse number of schools of theological thought and religious opinions, and the sincerely held religious beliefs of one Muslim family will not always be the same as another. So often some students are going to participate in school activities, or they're going to, request Eid off as an observance, or they might want to have a space for prayer. Other Muslim students aren't, or their families aren't going to make that request. But ultimately, it's the school's responsibility to respond to your family's concerns and requests, and not to be held accountable to what the school does for another Muslim family. So again, CAIR creates templated accommodation letters to match your family's needs or concerns. If you need some type of other need or concern met at your school or in your office, we'd be happy to work with you. In the chat, I would just put out there email info@cair.com with the subject line reading school related request. We would very much like to help you. I'm going to take a pause for a second. I'm going to ask Ismail, were there any questions in the chat box? I'll get that in a second. So not so far. If you have any questions, please email our info account. This is a really great resource. I know Ismail is going to drop the link for our press release that talked about this webinar training. He's going to drop the link to this templated letter. We can also drop other links to other templated school-related letters. And I just want to wish everyone watching this a Ramadan Mubarak. A happy Ramadan month, a wonderful Eid celebration. And I really hope that if you have children and they're in school and you haven't made a request, you can still make one now. It's not too late. We still have several weeks left. And it's a good precedent to set not only for this year, but for upcoming years in your school, in your child's school and in their academic journey. So thank you so much for watching this presentation during your lunch. I want you to get, well, actually, your lunch break. There is no lunch right now, unless you have your excuses. So thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.